This is an absolutely thrilling horror film, adapted from the Slavic horror legend of the ghost mermaid. As soon as it was released, it became the midnight nightmare of countless viewers. A friendly reminder, this film is packed with intense moments, so be sure to watch it with your friends. According to Slavic mythology, there's a creature that lives at the bottom of the sea, resembling a mermaid. When night falls, it transforms into a beautiful young woman, appearing by the lake to comb her hair while hunting. Any man she sets her sights on is doomed to face death. And right now, the man standing by the lake seems to have seen something terrifying. He stands there motionless. His wife notices something is wrong with him and carefully approaches to check on him. But just as she reaches her husband's back, he suddenly turns his head slowly. Seeing this, the wife rushes to the lakeside to take a look, but the surface of the lake suddenly returns to calm. As she stands there in confusion, her husband suddenly bursts out from the lake, desperately swimming toward the shore. It is only when he climbs out that he finally breathes a sigh of relief. However, in the very next second, his wife is violently dragged into the lake by some invisible force. She immediately swims toward the shore, and her husband reaches out to help from above. But at that moment, a ghostly hand suddenly emerges from the water, dragging her down in an instant, never to be seen again. Yet the father is completely unaware of the danger. Instead, he gifts the lakeside villa to his son as a wedding present. But this very decision will bring Roma face to face with the same horror his father once experienced. To celebrate his final night as a bachelor, Roma gathers a few friends and drives to the lakeside house. They indulge in wild partying, enjoying the excitement of the night. After a few drinks, Roma starts to feel a little dizzy, so he decides to take a walk by the lake to sober up. But the deeper he swims, the colder the water feels, as if something is slowly approaching him. Roma turns around in terror, only to see nothing but a few rising bubbles on the water's surface. Experiencing such a thing in the middle of the night, Roma can't help but feel scared. He immediately decides to head back, but just as he reaches the shore, he spots a blonde woman not far away. The woman stands there, dripping wet, wearing Roma's clothes, holding a comb in her hand. There is a hint of affection in her eyes as she slowly starts combing her hair. Seeing her alluring appearance, Roma becomes completely mesmerized, unconsciously walking toward her. Roma never returns that night. It is only when his friends come looking for him that he finally snaps out of his daze, but he keeps calling out for the girl from last night. Ilya tells him that in this remote place there couldn't possibly be any girls around. He then helps Roma up, ready to take him back. However, as Ilya lowers his head, he notices a comb on the ground. Without thinking much, he picks it up and takes it with him. That night with the mysterious woman will become a nightmare Roma can never escape. Back at the house, Roma decides to take a shower to relax, but just as he's washing up, the water suddenly stops running, while the shower in the neighboring bathroom mysteriously turns on by itself. Seeing this, Roma feels uneasy, yet he remains completely unaware of the terrifying figure that has suddenly appeared behind him. Roma moves to the other bathroom to continue his shower, but not long after, the same strange occurrence happens again. And at that very moment, the sound of doors shutting echoes behind him one after another. Roma, feeling puzzled, turns around to investigate, but what he sees leaves him even more confused. Staring at the doors that keep closing on their own, Roma recalls that when he first entered the bathroom, there was no one else there. So how could the wardrobe doors suddenly be closing by themselves? With suspicion in his heart, he cautiously approaches to check what's going on. But after a thorough search, he finds nothing unusual. Now, Roma is completely bewildered. Just as he was overwhelmed with confusion, a ghostly figure suddenly appeared behind him. At the same time, a familiar voice echoed in Roma's ears. Terrified, Roma rushed back home and curled up under the blankets, trembling. It was only when Marina came to check on him that he finally felt a little better. But later, as Marina was doing laundry for her boyfriend, she discovered the comb. She stared at it in confusion and contacted Roma's sister Olga, asking if she had ever seen this comb before. Olga took a closer look and suddenly felt that it seemed familiar, So she started searching through old photos, and sure enough, she found the exact same comb in one of the pictures. But right at that moment, a large water stain mysteriously appeared under a nearby cup, as if it were some kind of warning. However, Olga didn't pay much attention to it. Meanwhile, Roma was at the swimming pool practicing, while Marina stayed home washing dishes. Just then, she suddenly heard a noise outside the door. Thinking that Roma had returned, she stepped outside to check. But the hallway is empty, and only the bathroom door is open. Assuming that Roma had gone in to take a shower, she approached the bathroom door. But when she looked inside, she was horrified to see a ghostly hand suddenly appear over her boyfriend's head. But when she pushes the door open, her boyfriend is not in the bathroom. Only the strange comb lies motionless in the bathtub. Marina didn't think much of it and stepped forward to pick up the comb, but the next second, Marina woke up gasping for breath, terrified by the nightmare. Fortunately, Roma noticed something was wrong and gently comforted her, helping her gradually calm down. After reassuring his girlfriend, Roma returned to the swimming pool for training. But as soon as he jumped into the water, he sensed something was off. The once crystal clear pool had suddenly turned murky, and thick, tangled weeds had grown wildly all around him. Alarmed, Roma hurried to surface, only to realize in horror that he had somehow returned to the lake from before. And just then, that strange woman appeared right in front of him. At this moment, at the swimming pool, everyone noticed that Roma was not in a good state and immediately took him to the hospital. Thinking about the woman he had encountered by the lake and all the strange things that had happened in the past few days, Roma could no longer bear the pressure. He confessed everything to his girlfriend, telling her every detail from beginning to end. Hearing this, Marina no longer cared whether the woman from the lake was human or something else. The only thing on her mind was that Roma had betrayed her. Without hesitation, she turned and left the hospital room. Seeing that Marina was mad at him, Roma ignored his weakened state and immediately got out of bed to chase after her. At the hospital's corner, he saw Marina walk into a room with his own eyes, but when he stepped inside, he was stunned to see two Marinas standing motionless before him. In an instant, a sinister force tripped him to the ground. As he struggled to get up, an eerie sound suddenly filled the room. Something seemed to be lurking behind the curtain. But when Ilya burst through the door, there was nothing in sight. Only Roma lying motionless on the floor. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they probably never would have believed Roma's story. And because of this, they finally understood just how much danger Roma was in. Without wasting any time, they grabbed the comb and braved the heavy rain to visit Roma's father. It was only then that they finally learned the full truth from him. Hearing his father's words, Roma looks at him with resentment. But since it had already happened, there was no point in regret. The only thing they could do now was find a way to destroy that woman. Then they recall that all the strange events they experienced began after they picked up that comb. So Marina speculated that all of this might be connected to the comb. Perhaps only by destroying the comb could they put an end to the strange occurrences. Determined to eliminate the woman, Marina decided to perform an exorcism ritual she had read about in a book. As night fell, she prepared for the ritual. She first filled a bowl with lake water and arranged candles around it. Then, she placed the comb into the basin. After setting everything up, she picked up a mirror and began chanting a spell over and over again. Sure enough, in no time, the comb inside the basin vanished. The door slammed shut with a loud bang. An eerie wind howled through the pitch-black room. Marina was so terrified that she didn't dare to breathe, but just as she turned around, she saw the woman appear in the mirror. She quickly spun back in horror. And in that instant, the woman disappeared again. As Marina stood there in terror, feeling completely helpless, the next moment, she was suddenly transported to another world. Here, she witnessed the tragic past behind the terrifying woman. The woman's name was Lisa. She once had a happy relationship, but when the time came to discuss marriage, she discovered a shocking betrayal. The fiancé she deeply loved had secretly been seeing another woman. Heartbroken, Lisa was devastated. But instead of feeling guilty, her fiancé and the other woman openly mocked and humiliated her. Lisa's mind completely collapsed. Her agonizing scream shattered the mirror in front of her. Then she grabbed a shard of broken glass from the floor. She did not hesitate to kill her unfaithful fiancé and the other woman. After that, she ran to the lake and jumped in without hesitation. Meanwhile, outside the room, Roma had been waiting anxiously. But as time passed with no sound coming from inside, he could no longer hold back. He rushed over and repeatedly slammed his body against the door. But it wouldn't budge an inch. Desperate, Roma grabbed an axe from the side and swung it at the door. Only then did he finally manage to break it open. But as soon as he stepped inside, he found the entire room shrouded in a dense fog. He couldn't see a single trace of Marina. Still, he gritted his teeth and pushed forward, determined to find her. As Roma struggled to find his way through the fog, a hand suddenly grabbed him. Before he could even react, he turned and saw another Marina standing beside him. Then another and another. Soon, a countless number of Marinas surrounded him. Each one repeated the same question over and over again. As they closed in on him, Roma's mind felt like it was about to explode. But in the end, it was his love for Marina that allowed him to recognize the real one among the illusions. It was his unwavering love that ultimately forced Lisa to retreat. At that moment, the stone tablet at the bottom of the lake shattered. The door slowly opened. Everything finally returned to peace. But just as they prepare to leave, they notice Ilya is missing. Roma immediately rushed back inside to search for him. Immediately after, he found Ilya barely clinging to life in the basement. It seemed they had underestimated the situation. Everything was far from over. Lisa was still haunting them. So they immediately drove away from the place. But just as they entered a dense forest, the car suddenly stopped in place, refusing to start. Roma thought the car had broken down, so he quickly got out to check, leaving Marina and Olga inside. And it was at that moment Marina saw the woman again. The next second, water started flooding into the car at an alarming rate. At the same time, the doors locked tight. Marina desperately slammed her arms against the window, but it was useless. As Marina is about to drown, Roma, in a desperate move, picks up a rock and smashes the window, finally saving Marina and Olga. After this terrifying event, Olga suddenly had a realization. There was no use in running. Perhaps the only way to end this was to offer Marina to Lisa. So while Marina wasn't paying attention, Olga tied her up. But just as she was about to make her move, she was suddenly stopped by her father. Lisa's hatred ran too deep. Sacrificing one or two people wouldn't be enough to end it. But before he could finish speaking, Lisa suddenly appeared behind him. Yet, despite facing the woman who had once taken his wife away, the father showed no fear at all. He walked toward Lisa, trying to convince her with his words. But Lisa became a vengeful spirit because her fiancé betrayed her, and she no longer trusted any man. Immediately after, she revealed her true form. Seeing this, Olga immediately tried to help, but she only managed to grab a single strand of Lisa's hair. As Olga struggled desperately, Marina quickly broke free from her restraints, grabbed a pair of scissors, and cut off Lisa's hair. In an instant, the room finally returned to silence. But not long after, a scream echoes through the house. Staring at the scene before her, Marina had a revelation. Perhaps cutting Lisa's hair was the key to destroying her once and for all. Without hesitation, she rushes to the lake, only to find her boyfriend being tormented by Lisa, lying on the shore convulsing in pain. Seeing this, Marina could no longer hold back her rage. She grabbed the scissors and jumped into the lake. Reaching out, she seized Lisa's hair and cut it. A blood-curdling scream pierced through the night. And just like that, Roma, who had been writhing in pain, finally returned to normal. Safe at last, Marina and Roma held each other tightly, but then Roma suddenly sensed something was wrong. In all the time they had been together, he had never once seen Marina swim. With that thought in mind, he instinctively grabbed the scissors and cut Marina's hair. It wasn't until Lisa's body finally sank into the lake that the nightmare truly ended. And deep in the water, Roma found the real Marina. At last, they were free to live a happy life together. But for some reason, ever since that night, Marina had developed a strange habit. She would often play with her hair, as if she had become a different person altogether. Well, that's it for today's story. See you next time.